Hello everybody, it's Mike here from Little Actors. Well, we've been busy in lockdown. I'm sure you've been busy, but we've been busy as well. Obviously our drama and our dance activities, which we would normally be doing, have been a little bit limited for the last few months. But we've come up with an alternative. We're nothing if not inventive, and we decided to focus on writing as opposed to our drama and dance for the last 3 months or so. And boy, have we discovered some talent out there. All of our little actors, and actually some of our bigger actors as well, have attempted to do various writing projects set by myself over the last 3 months or so, and they have been absolutely wonderful. They've been very creative, very imaginative, so much so that we're hoping to put all of their short stories together into a book compilation that we're going to look to get published at some point when we come out of lockdown, when we get back to normal. But they're so good that we felt we needed to share some of them with you before then. So today we're going to read you some stories. Those of you that are old enough may remember Jackanory. And that's the kind of vibe we're going for here. We're going for a Jackanory vibe. So we're going to read you some of our excellent stories from some of our wonderful and creative young writers. So, if you're sitting comfortably, we shall begin. So this is a story by Ryan, age 9. And Ryan's story is called World of Magic. My granny is great. I know everyone says that, but it's true. She's kind and thoughtful and cuddly and funny, but the best thing about my granny is that she can do magic. And I don't just mean card tricks or making a penny appear from behind your ear. I mean real magic. She's not one of those magicians. She is a surprisingly old super granny. I'm Jordan, and I'm 9 years old. My granny is about 75 years old. She has secret powers that only I know. They're magic powers to stop crime. When she slaps her head, handcuffs blast straight out and onto a criminal's hands. When my granny stomps on a certain key on the floor, fruit and vegetables come out of nowhere and hit the criminals hard in the head, knocking them out cold. This means the police can arrest them. So she works for the police. However, these police aren't normal police that you find every day. Oh no, these police are magic police. And each police officer has their own magic power. My granny and the magic police only use their powers against horrible people who they have to use it against, like thieves and criminals. One day, I'd like to be like my granny, saving the world. She's a true inspiration. Her name is Maria, but I like calling her Granny. One day, Granny got a phone call from the magic police saying that she had to go on a mission to go to New York to do a piece of work. She always takes me with her, so we went down the stairs into the garden of her top secret lab. We got a secret premium VIP underground trip to the USA. We got to New York and we went up in a lift. We landed in Brooklyn, New York, where we were greeted by Granny's manager, Sir Harley Bennett. When he met us, he took us up to his private meeting room. He was talking to Granny, asking about her work. I was really bored, until I heard something that grabbed my attention. He said, "You have to collect a new power. To earn this new power, you have to somehow get from here to San Diego, California." Granny winced, but then she said, "I'm up for the challenge. Bring it on." So I knew she was ready, and so was I. We crossed mountains, swam, nearly drowned in rivers. We went through the 40-degree desert and still survived, but barely. Finally, we entered San Diego. Granny used her powers to knock down some criminals and thieves on the way. She met the leaders of the magic police, Grandmaster Kai and his wife, Grand Mrs. Francis. Grandmaster Kai said, "I'll appoint you as Deputy Grand Master of the Magic Police. Over to Grand Mrs. Francis, and by the way, Your grandson can be a magic officer if he wants to. Well done for that exhausting trek. You have donated £1 million to charity. Not many people have survived, but you have. We will now present you with the biggest power of all, which is to fly, said Grand Mrs. Francis. So my granny mission went really well, and we couldn't wait to fly off to our next adventure. The end.
And now a story by Elizabeth, aged 9, called The Doll Visits. It was a bright sunny day that greeted Joe as the bedroom curtains were flung open that morning. But listening to the sounds of the people far below, Joe knew that something wasn't right. Today was going to be a very strange day indeed. A day that no one could ever have imagined in their wildest dreams. Joe stretched out of the window and looked one way and then the other and then looked down. Suddenly there was a loud, impatient knock at the door. Joe ran downstairs and opened the door. To his surprise, there was a small doll. He had so many questions. The doll did not speak at first, and so, weirdly, Joe led it into the house and up to his bedroom. The doll sat on his bed. "Are you a magic doll?" asked Joe. But the doll remained silent. "Why are you here?" Joe asked further, not really expecting a response. The doll stood up and replied, "I am not a magic doll. I am a real person." Joe was surprised to hear the doll talk. "But why are you so little and actually look like a doll?" questioned Joe. The doll folded its arms and huffed. "I am sorry. I didn't want to offend you," said Joe. "Yes, I look like a doll. The reason for that is that I have been changed into a doll, and I would very much like to change back," the doll said sadly. "Well, how can I help you?" Joe asked. "You have something I need," said the doll. "What could I have that could possibly help you?" "You have a sock." "A sock? What sock?" "A sock with Sunday written on it. The navy blue one you never wear," stated the doll. Joe scratched his head and thought for a moment and then said, I do remember a sock like that, but I've not seen it in a while. Let me have a look." He then walked over to a very old chest of drawers and pulled open the bottom drawer. He rummaged through it and finally, at the bottom, he found the old sock in question. He lifted it into the air. "This one?" Joe asked. Yes, that's the one!" exclaimed the doll, jumping for joy. "But how can this sock help you?" "You will have to wait and see," said the doll. "You'll have to wait until Sunday." With that, the doll grabs the sock with glee, leaves the bedroom, runs down the stairs and out of the house. Once again, Joe could hear the sounds of people far below. And then all was quiet. Eerily quiet. All was quite normal after that. Quite normal, that is, until Sunday morning. Joe woke that morning to the sound of birds breaking the silence. He realised that today was Sunday, his favourite day. He jumped out of bed with excitement, but was met with a shock as he fell on the floor with a bump. "Oof!" he exclaimed. The bed was big, very big, in fact, ginormous. No, that's not true. The bed wasn't big. He was small, he realised, as he looked at his hands. Doll's hands. The end.
Now this is a story called The Journey to Success by Beth, aged 10. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there stood a mighty castle. The castle was located on top of a high cliff on the edge of a great magical forest. The ruler of this faraway land, whose name was King Hubert, lived in the castle with his wife, Queen Gertrude, and their beautiful daughter, Princess Alice. They were very happy, living in their hilltop fortress from which they could see almost their entire kingdom. Life was just about perfect. Until the day that a brave young messenger on horseback came speeding through the forest with some urgent information for the king. But the most amazing thing about this information, the one thing that was so hard to figure out, to truly understand, was that this brave young messenger speeding through the forest was me. "Hurry!" I shouted to my horse, sweat plastering my ginger hair to my red face. I couldn't mess this mission up. I just couldn't. Messing up wasn't a word in my vocabulary today. I didn't know what the letter said, but I had a pretty good feeling it was very important. I ran my fingers through Trixie's white mane as she leaped over fallen branches and stumbled through brambles and nettles. Feeling in the pocket of my navy blue riding gear, I sighed happily as I felt the golden stamp crescent of the letter. It was safe. Without warning, my foot slipped off the stirrups. My heart skipped a beat as I felt my clothes being tugged at with animal teeth. I felt myself rising back into the safety of my horse. "Oh, thanks, Trixie," I sighed, ruffling her fur. She replied with a whine and a neigh, and off we went, galloping, sprinting, riding, trotting and stumbling, making our way. I see it! We've made it, Trixie! I yelled as we made our way out of the dark, dense woods. I pulled the horse's reins to slow her down. As we made our way up the steep hillside cliff, I could hear Princess Alice's singing voice. It was beautiful, almost enchanting. I'm glad we got there in time. I was told to get there before dark. We soon made it to the fortress doors where 2 guards were standing, holding sharp, pointy spears. I thought they looked like they could pierce anything. A shiver ran down my spine. As I dismounted my horse and handed the reins to one of the guards, "I've an important letter for the king," I said, in my poshest voice. "You may enter, child," responded the other guard, pushing open the large wooden door. My muddy boots squeaked on the shiny patterned floor as I made my way to where the great King Hubert himself was sitting on his grand throne. When I got close, I looked up at him and gulped, taking the letter from my pocket. He took it, nodding his head at me, and smiled. I watched quietly as he took the paper from the envelope. He then giggled at the writing. I peeked over and read what it said. "Dearest Hubert, happy birthday. Best wishes, Alfred the Great. Kiss, kiss." The end.
And now we have a story called A Snail Odyssey by Teo, age 9. Once in a land called Slobble, also in a town called Doggo, in a house which looked like an ice cream cone, a snail house was someone called Joe. And guess what? Joe is a snail. Joe had white slime and a yellow shell. All of a sudden, Joe heard a knock at the door. There was a snail at the door, but it wasn't just any snail at the door. It was the famous Gravity Snail. To ever land on Earth where giants live. He told me that there was a new planet with life on it, and creatures on the planet are called worms. "Hi, Joe. Would you like to come to the Snail Lab station with me?" asked Gravity Snail. "Yes, I would," answered Joe. "That's great," said Gravity Snail. The next day, they arrived at Mr. Cold City. "Wow," said Joe. Mr. Cold City is nothing like Doggo. Gravity Snail wanted to show Joe around the snail lab to see what they were doing. I wonder if they're still working on the ship, said Gravity Snail, as they both entered the lab to see the spaceship. They realised that nobody was there, although the ship didn't look finished. Roar! They heard a roar. What was that? Shouted Joe. I don't know, but it's coming from outside, answered Gravity Snail. They went outside and saw a giant frog, worm-like creature with Evil Snail sitting on top of its head, controlling the monster. What shall we do? Said Joe. We need to take Evil Snail down, answered Gravity Snail. Then the monster won't hurt us, as Evil Snail has taken it over. But how are we going to do that? Asked Joe. We need to get back to the lab. There will be something there, answered Gravity Snail. Back in the lab, Joe and Gravity Snail could see potions and needles containing special DNA. Joe, you drink the potion, said Gravity Snail, and I will inject DNA into my head. But what will it do to us? Asked Joe. I don't know, but we'll soon find out, said Gravity Snail. Joe drank the potion and Gravity Snail injected the DNA. Wow, I feel weird, said Joe. Me too, said Gravity Snail. Gravity Snail's head all of a sudden changed into a worm with fire shooting out of the top, whilst Joe began to sprout arms and they both began growing bigger and bigger. I'm going to climb up the monster, said Joe. Here, hold my hand, I'll carry you, Joe instructed Gravity Snail. They soon realised what looked like a worm wrapped around the monster's neck began to shoot laser beams. Evil Snail, why are you doing this? Said Joe. Because I'm going to destroy Slobble and go to the land of giants, answered Evil Snail. Well, we're not going to let you, shouted Joe. Gravity Snail launched himself at Evil Snail and used his fiery head to knock Evil Snail off the monster with a smack. Ah! Screamed Evil Snail as he fell. Finally, with that taken care of, Joe and Gravity Snail made their way to the spaceship and jumped in. Off they went. But where are they going? 3,